We've been talking a lot about private equity here in the Middle East. Yesterday, we were just hearing from Carlyle and the co-founder there, Mr. David Rubenstein, really saying that he sees a lot of opportunity, especially in Turkey and Egypt. But as you're saying, let's now go to my guest, Mr. Mustafa Abdel-Wadood, the managing director at Abraaj Capital. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
There has to be money to be made around here. I was speaking to the CEO of Abraaj just a couple of months ago, and he told me very clearly that he wants to do two businesses or two deals before the end of the year. Are these still on track?
We're actually about to announce a deal very shortly, probably in the next couple of weeks, and I would say by the end of the year we should probably have another deal that should close ahead of that. Yeah.
And these are deals exactly, of what size and really where do you see the most opportunity in the region at the moment?
In terms of size, I mean, the biggest opportunity tends to be sort of where we see we're deploying $100 to $300 million per deal. One of them is slightly larger than that size. In terms of where we see opportunities across the region, in terms of sectors, we like logistics, we like financial services, we like healthcare. We've invested significantly in healthcare. So it's really across the board. In terms of core geographies, we tend to invest in businesses that have a regional presence. We start out, they're dominant in one market, and we help them roll out across different markets. But the core markets where we find attractive at this point in time are Egypt, Saudi, and Turkey in the MENA region.
Interesting. It's exactly what the Carlyle founder was actually saying yesterday. But in terms of growth, I mean, the trend in this region is now to grow. So there will be a lot more private equity deals, in the next year or so? Are we going to see, what we saw in 2006?
I mean, if you look at the macro of this region, the economic growth of this region, it's in the long term. I mean, if you look 5 years, which is typically the investment horizon of private equity, you're forecasting significant growth in these markets. So a lot of the investments will be around growth stories to a very large extent. In fact, what we do to a large extent is invest growth capital as opposed to buyouts. About 20% of our deals are buyouts, the rest is growth capital.
Is there anything that's concerning you about the region at the moment which may actually scupper some of the deals?
It's not the easiest of regions. As with all emerging markets, they tend to be challenging, but that's the role that private equity plays, and that's why it's a very local game. I mean, we have a significant presence in most of the markets we invest in, and we've successfully deployed over $6 billion today in these markets. So it's somewhere where we have experience, and we've been here for 10 years, so it works for us.
How much do you look at actually what's happening in Europe and the United States to understand whether you can do here deals? We talk a lot about this QE, about these possible asset bubbles. Is this something that's on your radar that you're watching very carefully?
In today's world, you can't ignore other markets. I mean, interestingly enough, a lot of our exits are to international players, whether it's going to be secondaries or whether it's actually strategic buyers buying our assets. But even the industry as a whole, the private equity industry, there are some parallels. I think the main distinction is in emerging markets, you find that it's largely a growth play versus a buyout play, as it is in the more developed markets.
Mustafa Abdel-Wadood, thank you so much for joining us today.